Have you ever wondered what kind of man Osama bin Laden, the world's most notorious terrorist, was behind the veil of terror and brutal attacks? He led a secret life, a private world, unknown to many. One woman stepped into that world not as a warrior or a fanatic, but as an unwilling lover. Her name is Kola Boof, a Sudanese-American writer who bravely recounted 6 months of captivity in bin Laden's gilded cage. Her story is not just about violence, but also unimaginable luxury, extravagant gifts, and nights in lavish hotels, all bestowed by him. Yet the question remains, how did a woman who mingled with powerful leaders like Muammar Gaddafi and Hosni Mubarak end up in bin Laden's grasp? Was this relationship a choice or a forced tragedy? Through her books and interviews, Kola Boof unveiled a dark truth you've likely never heard before. Background on Osama bin Laden. When the name Osama bin Laden is mentioned, most envision a fanatical terrorist, the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks that shook the world in 2001. Known as the leader of al-Qaeda, an extremist Islamic terrorist organization, he was willing to sacrifice thousands of innocent lives for his hateful ideology. However, few know that this man came from a vastly different world. Far from a poor warrior, he was born into one of Saudi Arabia's wealthiest and most powerful families. His father, Mohammed bin bin Laden, was a renowned construction magnate who built a vast business empire and became a trusted ally of the Saudi royal family. Thanks to his father's immense wealth, Osama lived a childhood of luxury, surrounded by opulent mansions, expensive cars, and the freedom to travel the world. His life was a vivid testament to his family's wealth and influence. Bin Laden's worldview was riddled with contradictions. On one hand, he publicly condemned the decadent and wasteful Western lifestyle, labeling America as the Great Satan, a symbol of moral decay and unbridled capitalism. He urged the Muslims to reject material temptations and live a simple life, adhering to the strictest Islamic principles. Yet his personal life starkly contradicted his preachings. In his private world, women had no voice and were expected to be utterly submissive. He had 4 legal wives and over 20 children, and women in his circle were forbidden from questioning him or leaving the house without permission. However, he indulged in extravagant pleasures, spending lavishly on personal desires, including expensive gifts for mistresses, actions that completely clashed with the pious image he projected. This included gifting Kola Boof costly jewelry designer clothes and high-end perfumes. This hypocrisy is key to understanding bin Laden's complexity. He preached simplicity while living in luxury, condemned Western decadence while seeking illicit pleasures he himself deemed immoral. These actions reveal Osama bin Laden not only as a terrorist, but as a deeply contradictory figure, a wealthy man who used his fortune and power to fulfill personal desires despite his public rhetoric. His secret life is the key to understanding the true man behind the fanatic's mask. Early life of Kola Boof. Kola Boof's life was far from serene, marked by tragedy and trauma from a young age. Born as Naima bint Harth in 1969 in Omdurman, Sudan, her childhood was shattered by a horrific event. At 6 years old, she witnessed the brutal murder of her parents, who were killed for boldly speaking out against the persistent slave trade in Sudan. The memories of that day, the screams, the smell of blood, were etched into her young mind, becoming an unhealable wound that shaped her life. This tragedy defined her, leaving her with deep emotional scars. At 8, after this tragedy, Kola was adopted by an African-American family in Washington, D.C. Her new life in America brought significant change. She became a U.S. citizen in 1993, living in a large household with 7 other adopted siblings. Her adoptive parents, though strict, were caring and recognized the psychological trauma she carried, arranging therapy to help her cope with her haunting past. However, integration was challenging due to cultural shock and language barriers, making her initially withdrawn and cautious. And things began to shift when she turned 14. She gradually embraced her surroundings, finding joy in American culture, particularly Madonna's music, which embodied rebellion and glamour. She dreamed of a dazzling life, far removed from her tragic past. Yet her childhood trauma lingered, manifesting as mood swings and impulsive behavior, earning her the label of a problem child. This rebellious streak led her to complex relationships and choices at a young age. By 17, Kola ventured into the adult world. She began dating, pursuing dreams of modeling or acting, and entered a world of romantic liaisons with wealthy, powerful men. These relationships offered her a lavish lifestyle, including trips to Egypt and Israel, and served as a way to escape her painful past. She sought validation and affection from influential men, trying to fill an emotional void. These experiences transformed her into a complex woman with the ability to navigate elite circles, a critical factor leading to her fateful encounter with Osama bin Laden. From a traumatized Sudanese child, she became a rebellious, multifaceted woman in America with a past she couldn't erase and a future fraught with risks. Fateful encounter and the start of the relationship. It all began in 1996 in Marrakesh, Morocco, a city known for its bustling markets and mystical allure. During a fateful evening, Kola Boof was dining at a restaurant with a friend, a Sudanese football player, when a group of Arab men exuding authority entered. Their leader, tall and lean with a dark beard, immediately caught her attention. That man was Osama bin Laden. Accompanied by his bodyguards, bin Laden approached her table and invited her and her friend for tea. Kola recounted that the initial atmosphere was casual. Bin Laden joked about her eating lion meat, a seemingly harmless remark laced with undertones of power and control. The conversation quickly took a darker turn when he coldly declared, "You belong to me." This statement filled Kola with panic. Trying to stay composed, she fled the restaurant with her friend, but couldn't escape his pursuit. Hours later, back at her hotel, bin Laden appeared with 7 bodyguards. He entered her room, ignoring her protests, and coerced her to stay. What began as a seemingly ordinary flirtation turned into blatant coercion. Despite being confined, Kola tried to remain calm. Bin Laden began speaking, but in a bizarre manner, discussing his preferences, demanding she style her hair like Whitney Houston's, and boasting about his homes and children. This showed he didn't see her as an independent person, but as an object to control and flaunt his power over. Kola denied being a high-class escort when bin Laden mistakenly assumed so, but her denial was futile. He dismissed her words. His only concern was possessing her. The relationship was not based on consent or love, but on coercion. Kola realized she was trapped by a man with immense power in the Arab underworld, someone she couldn't resist. Fear consumed her as she understood her life was now in the hands of a ruthless, fanatical man. This relationship marked the start of a 6-month ordeal filled with pain, isolation, and abuse, cloaked in luxury. That brief encounter forever altered Kola Boof's life, turning her from a free woman into a prisoner in her own lavish hotel. Narawam. Life in the gilded cage. Luxury. Intertwined with brutality. After being coerced to stay, Kola Boof entered a strange existence, a captivity cloaked in extravagance. Bin Laden made her a queen in a golden prison. She was housed at La Mamounia, one of Marrakesh's most luxurious hotels, described vividly with its lush gardens, shimmering pools, and intricate French-Moroccan Arab architecture. To appease her, Bin Laden showered her with lavish gifts, silk clothing, a stunning sapphire necklace, diamond earrings, and high-end perfumes. He addressed her with powerful nicknames like Somi, or Master, a twisted blend of control and reverence. Yet behind this glamorous facade lay strict rules and total control. Kola was constantly monitored, never allowed to leave alone. Bin Laden imposed bizarre regulations, such as praying on Tuesdays and Thursdays without touching him. He displayed eccentric habits like duck hunting, eating yogurt with watermelon and pepper, and smoking marijuana. Her life became a peculiar mix of a billionaire's whims and a terrorist's authoritarianism. Isolation and abuse defined her daily reality. Bin Laden frequently vanished for days, traveling for his work later revealed as terrorist activities. When present, their interactions swung unpredictably. At times, he was romantic, reciting poetry. Moments later, he turned abusive, insulting and assaulting her. Physical abuse was frequent after she admitted to a past liaison with his friend. He brutally beat her, breaking her nose and ribs. The most humiliating moments left lasting scars. Kola recounted how Bin Laden forced her to perform intimate acts in front of his bodyguards, a degrading display of power. In a desperate attempt to escape, she stabbed one of his guards, only to be recaptured. Shockingly, Bin Laden secured her release, but imposed a symbolic act of cruelty, forcing her to wear a dog collar, a stark reminder of her subjugation. This wasn't just jewelry, it symbolized her status as a possession, a slave in his gilded cage. These details paint a complete picture of Kola Boof's life under Bin Laden's control, a contradictory existence of external luxury and internal pain and humiliation. She was not only a victim of physical abuse, but a prisoner of psychological control, trapped in a tragic fate. One climax and end of the relationship. After months of living in a tragic gilded cage, the relationship between Kola Boof and Osama bin Laden reached its climax and end. This period saw his control loosen, but brought Kola's suffering to its peak. Bin Laden's frequent absences grew. He traveled constantly to countries like Afghanistan, Kenya, Egypt, and Greece for his missions. His absences offered Kola temporary relief, but underscored her insignificance in his vast, brutal world. During one absence, Kola discovered she was pregnant, a result of his abuse. Terrified, she hid it, fearing his unpredictable reaction. Bin Laden was authoritarian, and she knew a child wouldn't fit into his world. When he returned and learned of the pregnancy, his cruelty resurfaced, but in a chillingly discreet way. Instead of confronting her, he had drugs slipped into her food to induce an abortion. Kola described the excruciating pain beyond human endurance as not just the loss of a life, but a devastating blow to her body and spirit. After forcing the abortion, Bin Laden lost interest in keeping her. The breakup was abrupt and cold. He freed her, giving her an estimated $200,000 in gifts, jewelry, clothing. Yet this freedom was illusory. Before she left, he secretly implanted a tracking device in her tooth, ensuring he could monitor her remotely. Though physically free, the psychological scars and fear of her 6-month ordeal lingered. She knew her life would never return to normal. Notorious aftermath and public disclosure. After escaping the gilded cage, Kola Boof's life didn't find peace. It marked the start of a turbulent chapter. The trauma of her captivity haunted her, and the truth about her captor emerged later. In 1998, the bombings of U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania shocked her. When Osama bin Laden was named al-Qaeda's leader, Kola realized Somi was the mastermind of these attacks. Initially, shame and fear kept her silent. She dreaded public judgment and reliving her humiliating past. Her silence couldn't last. As her fame grew, her real name, Naima bint Harth, leaked to the media, triggering severe consequences. She was placed on the FBI's suspected terrorist list and faced threats of losing her U.S. citizenship. In 2006, to protect herself, Kola publicly admitted her relationship with bin Laden in an interview recounting her painful story. This disclosure sparked intense controversy. She faced scrutiny, with many doubting her story, accusing her of fabricating it for book sales. Her self-description as an ex-lover rather than a slave raised questions, and conflicting witness accounts, like sightings of her shopping in Milan during her alleged captivity, fueled skepticism. As an African woman, she also faced unfair prejudice, with critics quicker to dismiss her than Western counterparts. This disclosure didn't bring relief, but a prolonged battle to defend her honor and truth in a judgmental world. Life after the scandal and legacy. Life after revealing her story wasn't easier for Kola Boof. She faced death threats from Islamic extremists viewing her as an enemy. Rumors falsely claimed her eldest son was bin Laden's, endangering her family. The U.S. government provided protection for her, her husband, and 2 children. Despite risks, Kola didn't back down. She published 7 books in 8 countries using her story to advocate for women's rights, especially African women facing injustice in the West. She found happiness with her husband, the father of her children, proving she could rebuild her life. Her story transcends scandal. It's about fate, thrusting someone into dangerous circumstances, cultural clashes, and the fight for freedom. Beyond sensational headlines, it's a human tale of trauma and resilience. Do you believe Kola Boof's story? Or do you think it was fabricated for fame? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video insightful and want more mysterious stories, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching.